Some big changes to the plans to extend East-West Rail from Bletchley to Cambridge were recently announced, and alterations have been proposed for some of the interventions required on the existing route between Oxford and Bletchley. EWR Rail Co, the company responsible for planning the new line, says this shows they have listened to feedback given during the non-statutory consultation held between November 2024 and January 2025. And looking at the number of changes, it certainly seems that they have taken feedback on board. People often get frustrated by how long consultations take, myself included, but it is important to take into account the views of local stakeholders. As long as the changes can be justified and the costs of the changes don't put delivery of the project at risk. Looking at some of the suggested alterations, they do seem fairly pragmatic, although some will undoubtedly add to the cost of the project. Starting in the west, at Oxford, plans are being taken forward for the so-called Cowley Plus option. This relies on Network Rail reopening the Cowley branch, ahead of the opening of East-West Rail to Cambridge. There has been some discussion about the justification for reopening the branch, but what it means is EWR trains will be able to reverse at Cowley, which in turn means fewer interventions would be required at Oxford Station to increase capacity. There is capacity currently for the additional 2 services per hour to Milton Keynes that will hopefully finally begin operating by the spring of next year. However, there would be no spare capacity at Oxford to turn around the additional services to Cambridge. That is why reopening the Cowley branch is important to EWR, although it will be delivered by Network Rail separately and won't form part of the plans or fall within the budget for East-West Rail. At Bicester, there was strong local opposition to plans to close London Road to vehicle traffic, especially as it was decided not to build a new road or bridge to replace it. Now, a single lane underbridge is planned so that cars can pass underneath the railway. It also seems that plans are being developed for a pedestrian overbridge, but this would include lifts and stairs instead of a previously proposed huge ramp. Delivery of the road is however subject to third-party funding. I'm not certain if both the underpass and overbridge would be built, or if the overbridge is being developed if funding cannot be agreed for the underpass. Moving on to Bletchley, a decision about the eastern entrance has finally been made, and this will now be constructed. But again, this is subject to third-party funding, likely from the local authority. Hopefully, some provision was included within the construction of the new high-level station, so the new entrance won't be too costly to retrofit into what has only recently been built. For the Marston Vale Line, as I suspected, the consolidation option is being taken forward as the preferred option. This means that 9 existing stations will eventually close, and will be replaced with just 4 new intermediate stations. Ridgemont Station will be rebuilt to the west of Bedford Road, while Stuartby and Kempston Hardwick stations will be consolidated. However, the location of the new station is still being finalised. A balance needs to be struck between serving Kimberley Sixth Form College and Stuartby Village, while also providing connectivity with the planned Universal Studios development. Bedford St John's will be relocated as previously suggested, but EWR has been working with the hospital and local authority to refine the designs of the station to improve access. EWR have now confirmed that Bedford Station will be upgraded to increase passenger capacity. Plans include a new dedicated public open space, a new western entrance, and construction of a new platform. Moving on to the new section of railway, the plans for the route, as set out within the consultation, are still being taken forward, and EWR Co have confirmed that Tempsford 1C is the preferred option. However, it's now proposed that the new East Coast Mainline station will be constructed before the completion of East-West Rail. This decision has been driven by plans for Tempsford Newtown, which will see the construction of thousands of new homes. Although the exact number still seems unclear, as I've seen various figures which differ significantly. I know many residents are unhappy about the prospect of new homes being constructed, but I would make the point again that it is good that the plans are being developed alongside plans for improved public transport links. The new East-West Rail station that will link to the East Coast Main Line station is being taken forward as originally proposed. Moving east, it is now proposed that Cambourne station will be constructed 700 metres to the west of the original location. Again, this is driven by local plans for new housing. The cut and cover tunnel that was planned to pass under the A428 and Bourne Airfield will now be a mined tunnel. The term mined tunnel seems quite specific, but the exact details of how the tunnel will be excavated are yet to be decided. But it won't now be constructed like the green tunnels I spoke about in the last video. There are no other significant changes to the route that I could see, and it will continue to approach Cambridge from the south, with East-West Rail trains calling at the new Cambridge South station. Plans are, however, being developed to construct a new eastern entrance at Cambridge, in order to better connect the station and again support construction of new homes, which are planned in the area. Much like at Oxford Station, there is limited capacity to terminate trains at Cambridge, so it was proposed that trains would head north to Cherry Hinton Turnback. Initially, it was proposed that this branch would only be used to reverse trains, and not for passengers. However, plans are now being developed to build a new Cambridge East station on the branch. This new station is subject to third-party funding. The EWR update is quite extensive, and these are just some of the main points that I've identified, but I hope to provide a more detailed update once I've fully digested the report. By now, I think most people will know about the delays to the passenger service between Oxford and Milton Keynes. But, as I alluded to earlier, it has been suggested that the service will now begin in spring 2026. The initial 2 trains per hour service will be operated by Class 196 DMUs, subleased from West Midlands Trains. The main sticking point at the moment seems to be about whether drivers or guards should operate the doors, which has led to tense discussions being held between the DfT, Chiltern Railways and the unions. It's more than a little frustrating that arguments about the operation of doors seems to be holding up the introduction of new railway services, but I suspect there may be more to the delays. There have also been suggestions that Chiltern Railways is unhappy with Winslow Station, but I don't think there are any critical issues which should stop the station from opening to passengers. I'm currently not sure about the status of the £250 million Marston Vale Accelerator. This sought to provide initial upgrades so that a new limited stop service could be introduced from Oxford to Bedford by around 2030, before the full EWR route is complete. But despite funding having been agreed, the date for when work will commence has not yet been announced. I'll try to provide an update as soon as I know more. Just before I go, could I ask that if you found this video informative, that you please give it a like or even a hype, as it helps my content to get noticed.